Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Sorry about that, guys. Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I'm your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash. Today is Wednesday, December 28th, 2022. And I am here to talk to you guys about tonight's 8-game NBA slate. We had a real nice night last night, thanks to Luka and that incredible 60-point, 20 rebound triple-double. Just unbelievable. I hope everybody was able to watch that game. It was just incredible watching him just, completely dominate that game from start to finish, for him to get the missed free throw, to get the rebound and the putback. I mean, just the whole, and then them to be down 9 points with like 33 seconds left. That was just incredible game, incredible piece of NBA history last night. So I hope everyone was able to be a part of that. If you're new to the channel, if you would hit the like button and then go ahead and hit subscribe, that will help us to move up the algorithm on YouTube. And then if you would, after you've done those two things, hit the alarm bell. That will let you know when the newest podcast has gone live. So with that being said, we've got a nice 8-game slate to get into. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do that, let's just make sure everyone can see and hear me. After what happened yesterday, can everyone see and hear me? All right, I'm going to assume everyone can see and hear me. The first game we have is going to be the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. Game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Orlando is favored by 1. It has a 229 over-under. For the Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac, Chuma Okeke, and Jalen Suggs are out. For the Pistons, Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Livers are out. The projected starting lineup for the Magic, we have Markelle Fultz, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, Bol, and Mo Wagner. And for the Pistons, Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. For me, my top plays in this game, I know he really disappointed a lot of people last night, but I do think this is a good opportunity for him to bounce back. Up against Detroit, they've allowed the third most fantasy points to power forwards, and that's going to be Paulo Banchero. 8,100 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel, $32 on Yahoo. He faced them earlier this year. He had 47.8 DraftKings points in that matchup. He just had the one time that he faced them, but he did have a nice night when he did face them. So I do like Paulo Banchero to bounce back after a rough night last night when a lot of people played him. I also like Markelle Fultz. He's 5,900 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel, $21 on Yahoo. Detroit has allowed the fourth most fantasy points to point guards. So I like Markelle Fultz as well as Banchero on the Orlando side. For Detroit, Bojan Bogdanovic, he's 6,200 on DraftKings, 6,000 on FanDuel, $21 on Yahoo. He had 37.8 DraftKings points against them earlier this year, and he's averaged 34.8 in his last 5 games at home, 34.8 DraftKings points in the last 5 home games. So he's been very solid. His price is pretty much stuck around that $6K on DraftKings and FanDuel, $21 to $22 on Yahoo almost all season. But I do like him in this matchup. The other play I like for Detroit is Jalen Duren. He's 5,100 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo. He had 34 DraftKings points the last time he faced Orlando, and he's been playing around 30 minutes lately. He had one of his better games on Monday night against the Clippers. He had 38 DraftKings points in 39 minutes. So good spot for Duren. I think he'll probably be a little bit lower owned, I'm hoping, and solid price for a center. Not a whole lot of centers that I like on this slate, but he is one that I like as a little bit of a value. The next game we have is going to be the Phoenix Suns at the Washington Wizards. Phoenix is favored by 2.5. Has a 220.5 over under. Phoenix has a lot of injury news here. You've got Devin Booker, of course, is still out. Cameron Payne's out. Landry Shamet's out. Cam Johnson is still out. And Bismack Biyombo is a game-time decision. So a lot of the Suns are going to be out tonight. So then you have on the Wizards side, Bradley Beal was ruled out. So that's going to be, interesting to see where they go with the guard position. It looks like Corey Kispert is probably going to be projected to start. So for the Suns, we have a projected starting lineup of Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, Torrey Craig, Jock Landale is projected to start as of right now, and then DeAndre Ayton. For the Wizards, you have Monte Morris, Corey Kispert, Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis, and Daniel Gafford. In this game, there's not a whole lot that I really like. It's 220.5, which normally, would be about probably somewhere in the middle as far as over-unders. But on this slate, it's the lowest over-under on the slate. So I'm looking at the value in Dwayne Washington. I know he had a real nice night last night, and it'll probably be chalky. But he is 3,200 on DraftKings, 3,700 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo with, Booker, Payne, and Shamet all out. I just don't think you can get away from him. So he would be the one play from this game that I really like. Borderline play would be DeAndre Ayton, 7,400 on DraftKings. I like that price. He's 8,000 on FanDuel, a little bit more over there. $29 on Yahoo. That's solid as well. He's averaged 40 DraftKings points per game against Washington, and he did score 47.8 against them last Tuesday. So DeAndre Ayton is also in play, but you can also pass on this game outside of Dwayne Washington. Next game, we have the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks. It starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Brooklyn is favored by 6.5, has a 234 over-under, so a better over-under, better pace here. We have for the Nets, Joe Harris is out. For the Hawks, they have some pretty major news coming with Trae Young. He's questionable. So if he sits, obviously DeJounte Murray comes into play. But Bogdanovich is also questionable, and so is Jalen Johnson. Clint Capella and DeAndre Hunter are out for Atlanta. For the Nets, your starting lineup is projected to be Kyrie Irving, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Nick Claxton. For the Hawks, they're currently projected to start Trae Young, but like I said, he's questionable, so we'll have to see if he actually makes the starting lineup. I have a feeling he's going to be out. But anyway, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich, John Collins, and Onyeka Okongwu. In this game, I like for the Nets, Kyrie Irving. He's 8,400 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel, $36 on Yahoo. Brooklyn faced Atlanta on December 9th, and Kyrie had 52.3 DraftKings points. And he's basically been putting up very similar numbers to Kevin Durant, and he's almost $2,000 cheaper on FanDuel and DraftKings. So I just feel like, if you're going to pay up for Durant, why not save a little bit and just get basically the same production with Kyrie. I also like on the bench, TJ Warren. He's been playing pretty well of late. He's 4,000 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel, $13 on Yahoo. The Hawks have allowed the sixth most fantasy points to power forwards, so I think he's in a good spot. Like I said, if Trae Young is ruled out, DeJounte Murray is one of the top plays on the slate. He's 8,500 on DraftKings, 8,400 on FanDuel, $34 on Yahoo. If Trae Young plays, then I would just pass on Murray. The other play I like in this game, and I know he's let us down, and sometimes he's really let us down, but he has had some nice nights too, and that's John Collins. 5,300 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel, and $21 on Yahoo. His last 6 games against Brooklyn, he hasn't scored less than 36 fantasy points. So he has had a lot of production against them. So I like the matchup here for Collins, especially with Capella out. And I think a lot of people might go back to Okongwu. I don't think it's a bad play. I just like Collins in this spot. And let's go ahead and take a look at the questions you guys have, and we'll look at those. All right, we'll move on to the next game. I don't see any questions yet. Los Angeles Lakers at the Miami Heat, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Miami is favored by 8. This game has a 228 over-under. For the Lakers, LeBron is a true game-time decision. He's questionable. He may not play after the back-to-back, but we'll have to see what happens there. Of course, AD is still out. And then Reeves and Schroeder are questionable. Looks like they're probably leaning more towards playing, but they are listed as questionable. For the Heat, Adebayo is questionable, as is Nikola Jovic. We got that news right before this show started. Haslam is questionable, and then Dedmon and Yurtseven are out. For the Lakers, the projected starting lineup is going to be Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverley, Lonnie Walker, LeBron James, and Thomas Bryant. For the Heat, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. For me in this game, if LeBron does play, I think it's a good spot for him. He's, going back to Miami, he's always pretty much played well down there. 57, 58, and 73 fantasy points his last 3 games in Miami. So I do like him in a bounce back, especially at 10-3 on DraftKings. 11-4 on FanDuel is a little pricey. And then $48 on Yahoo is a good price as well. Miami's been about average against forwards. If Adebayo sits, then, I like it even more. But I do like LeBron in this matchup. I also like Jimmy Butler on the other side. 9,400 on DraftKings, 9,700 on FanDuel, $37 on Yahoo. LA's allowed the second most fantasy points to small forwards. And if Bam does end up sitting, then Butler's going to have more of the responsibility of scoring. He had 61 DraftKings points against the Lakers last time he faced them, which was last year. Tyler Hero, I do like as well, but he's 9,300 on DraftKings. That's just way too much for me. I'm not going to pay that. 7,900 on FanDuel and $33 on Yahoo. I like those prices. Not sure if I'm going to get to him because you have a lot of guards on this slate that you could look at around that same price, but he is an option, especially in tournaments. Next game, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves at the New Orleans Pelicans. Starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. Game has a 234 over-under. The Pelicans are favored by 6.5. Of course, Karl Anthony Towns is still out for Minnesota, as is Taurean Prince and Jordan McLaughlin. And then Kyle Anderson is a game-time decision. The projected starting lineup right now, we have D'Angelo Russell, Austin Rivers, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert. For the Pelicans, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall, Zion Williamson, and Jonas Valanciunas. Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and EJ Liddell are all out for the Pelicans. In this game, kind of similar to game a couple games ago that I talked about. Not a whole lot that I like in this game. I do like Zion Williamson coming back, though. He's averaged 51.5 DraftKings points his last 10 games. His price has gone over 10K now, so it's about probably where it should be. But I still like him in this slate. He's 10-1 on both DraftKings and FanDuel, $44 on Yahoo. The Timberwolves allowed the 7th most fantasy points to power forward, so I do think he's in a good spot. With Herb Jones out, I also think you could look at Trey Murphy. He's 5,000 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel, and $16 on Yahoo. Next game, we have my Milwaukee Bucks at the Chicago Bulls, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Milwaukee's favored by 2.5, 230.5 over under in this game. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton both are out for Milwaukee. Alex Caruso, Javonte Green are questionable, game time decision. Derek Jones looks like he's leaning towards doubtful, and then Lonzo Ball is out. The projected starting lineup for the Bucks: Javon Carter, Grayson Allen, Patrick Connaughton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez. For the Bulls, Alex Caruso, if he plays, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. For me, in this game, this is probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but I'm actually not going to be playing Giannis. And I know with Holiday and Middleton out, you probably think that, you got to go to Giannis. But if you look at the stats, he's averaged 56 DraftKings points this year in his games with Drew Holiday. Without him, he's only averaged 44. It's only 4 games, so it's a small sample size. But I have noticed firsthand why I think that is. And it's because he tries to play without Holiday on the floor. He tries to play more of the pseudo point forward position, and he gets himself in a lot of trouble. He commits turnovers. He drives the lane when there's 2 or 3 guys and, as offensive fouls and gets in foul trouble. So there's a lot of reasons why I think his scoring has gone down without Holiday on the floor. But needless to say, I think he's a little bit of a trap. He's probably going to be one of the higher owned players on the slate. And coming from a Bucks fan, you can trust that there's no bias here. I really don't like the matchup based on what I've seen of Giannis without Drew Holiday. I do, however, like Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. They have both scored slightly more fantasy points without Holiday. Portis is 6,400 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, $20 on Yahoo. Lopez is 6,000 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel, and $22 on Yahoo. The other play, obviously, without Holiday that I like is Javon Carter. He's 3,500 on DraftKings, 4,200 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. He's averaged 19.5 DraftKings points this year anyway. But without Drew Holiday, he's averaged 32.6. So his scoring in fantasy terms goes way up. So I definitely think Carter is one of my core plays tonight. I might have him in both cash and GPPs. For the Bulls, the guy that always seems to go off against Milwaukee, especially of late, is DeMar DeRozan. He's 8,900 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel, $39 on Yahoo. His last two games against Milwaukee, he had 59 and 52.8 DraftKings points. The 59 DraftKings point game was the most recent, and that was on November 23rd. So definitely like DeMar DeRozan, one of my core plays. Play him in all formats. Next game, we'll have two games left. We're going to switch over to the 10 p.m. Eastern. So the night slate, you've got the Utah Jazz at the Golden State Warriors. Utah is favored by 5, has a 232.5 over under. The Jazz don't currently show anyone as may not play on the injury report, but the Warriors have several players that have been ruled out, including Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. Draymond Green is questionable, as is Dante DiVincenzo. And then, of course, Iguodala is still out. So, and JaMychal Green is out as well. So the Warriors are just, basically playing with a lot of younger guys will have, bright futures with them, I'm sure. So that's why Utah's favored by 5. The projected starting lineup here, Mike Conley for the Jazz, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Jared Vanderbilt, and Kelly Olynyk. For the Warriors, you have Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Dante DiVincenzo, Draymond Green, who's questionable, and Kevon Looney. In this game, the only play I really like on the Jazz is Jordan Clarkson. The Warriors have actually allowed the most fantasy points to shooting guards, and he scored 41 DraftKings points against them on November 25th and 39.5 on December 7th. So I do like Clarkson here a little bit. He's 6,800 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel, and $23 on Yahoo. Obviously, for the Warriors, Jordan Poole with Clay and Curry both out, and Wiggins as well, probably going to be the highest owned player on the slate. I like him too. 8,600 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel, $30 on Yahoo. I also like Jonathan Kuminga. He's 5,000 on DraftKings, 4,500 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo, especially with Draymond Green and DiVincenzo. If those guys are out, Kuminga should get a ton of run. I also like Moses Moody as a value play, 3,700 on DraftKings, 3,900 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. That brings us to the last game. We have the Denver Nuggets and the Sacramento Kings. Denver's favored by 1.5. They had that comeback win last night in Sacramento, but it does look like Domantas Sabonis may be back for Sacramento. So, Sacramento might be able to even it up tonight. It's a 236 over under. I think that's the highest on the slate. I'm going to double check here, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. It's the highest over under on the slate. For the Nuggets, Bruce Brown is probably not going to play. I believe Aaron Gordon was ruled out or is at least questionable. Jamal Murray is questionable and Jeff Green is out. And then for the Kings, it's just a matter of whether or not Sabonis plays. So projected starting lineup for Denver, Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon if he plays, and then Nikola Jokic. De'Aaron Fox for the Kings, De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. again, if he plays. So for me, as I mentioned in our Discord yesterday, Jokic has actually been much better at home than on the road. He's averaged 63 fantasy points per game at home versus only 52 on the road. He had 51 last night against the Kings, so he was right there with his normal production on the road. Once again, I'm not going to be going to him tonight. And then I do like Jamal Murray, though. If he plays, he's 7,200 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel, $26 on Yahoo. He had 46.8 DraftKings points against the Kings last night, and I think that he can, take advantage of De'Aaron Fox a little bit. For the Kings, if Sabonis plays, he'll be one of the top plays for me on the slate. 10-4 on DraftKings, 10-3 on FanDuel, $43 on Yahoo. His last 3 games against Denver, he's averaged 54.4 DraftKings points. So I do like Sabonis a lot if he plays. I also think if he plays that De'Aaron Fox is in play. Denver has allowed the second most fantasy points to point guards. And with Sabonis back in the lineup, I think he'll be able to get more assists and things like that. He only had 4 assists last night. He's 8,600 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel, $34 on Yahoo. Does anyone have any questions? Let me take a look and see. LeBron is in. Okay, thanks, Octavius. Yeah, stacks money. I think I mentioned that, but I do like Dwayne Washington with the value there with Booker and Payne and Shamet all out. So for my top PrizePicks plays today, it is going to be actually Giannis under 59.5 or less than, I think they say now, less than 59.5 fantasy score. As I mentioned, he's averaged only about 44 without Drew Holiday. And I think he gets held under 59, under 60 basically tonight. And then DeMar DeRozan, I like the over at 38.5. He's been averaging around 50 of late against Milwaukee. So I like the over at 38.5. Before we get out of here and I work on these lineups for everyone, does anyone have any other questions? Thoughts on Porzingis? With Bradley Beal out, there's a little bit more scoring opportunity here. I think he's a decent play, but he's not my favorite play for that price. I would just go with Sabonis if he plays. But if Sabonis is out, then yeah, I think Porzingis is an option around that price tag as well. All right, guys, that looks like that's it for everyone's questions. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Tomorrow, we won't have an NBA podcast because Steve and I are actually going to do our Week 17 NFL podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. So everybody can look forward to that. But we will be back on Friday. I think Deb might be joining me on Friday, so you guys can look forward to the two of us, putting out our top plays and giving the 2-brain lineup and all that good stuff. So hope everyone has a great night. We had a great night last night, looking to carry that momentum into tonight and have an even bigger night. We'll be back again on Friday when we look to crush it in NBA, DFS, and PrizePicks. Thanks.